3 years ago, I had zero invested, no portfolio, no dividends, no passive income of any kind. Just a job that paid the bills and the vague, uncomfortable feeling that I was completely dependent on that one paycheck for everything. Today, that same portfolio generates over $500 a month in dividend income, not from a windfall, not from a lucky stock pick, not from some strategy that required special access or insider knowledge. From consistent investing, the right investments, and a compounding process that runs completely on autopilot while I sleep. In this video, I am going to show you exactly how I did it. Not the theoretical version, the actual version. What I bought, how much I started with, the mistakes I made along the way, the moments I almost quit, and the specific decisions that made the biggest difference in getting there faster than I originally thought possible. This is not a blueprint designed in a spreadsheet. This is what actually happened. And I am sharing all of it because if I had seen a video like this 3 years ago, it would have saved me significant time and a few costly mistakes. If you want to follow this kind of honest, real money content every week, hit subscribe. I post actual portfolio updates, real dividend numbers, and breakdowns like this consistently. No fluff, no hype, just the real journey. And before I get into the story, tell me where you are right now. Are you starting from zero the way I did? Have you already started but feel stuck? Or are you further along and just looking for a better strategy? Drop your situation in the comments. I reply to every single one, and your starting point determines which parts of this video matter most to you. So here is where it actually began. The moment that changed everything for me was not a YouTube video or a book or a financial advisor. It was a number. I sat down one afternoon and calculated how long I could survive financially if my income stopped completely. The answer was less than 60 days. 2 months. Everything I had built, my savings, my lifestyle, my sense of security, depended entirely on a single paycheck continuing to arrive. That calculation made me genuinely uncomfortable in a way I had not been before. And that discomfort was the fuel that started everything. I opened a brokerage account the same week. Fidelity, because the interface was clean, fractional shares were available, and dividend reinvestment was automatic. I transferred $500 from my savings account, not because $500 was going to change anything immediately, but because I needed to start doing something rather than just reading about it. The first investment I made was SCHD, the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. I had read enough to know that starting with a diversified dividend ETF made more sense. SCHD held around 100 of the highest quality dividend-paying companies in the US, yielded around 3.5 to 4%, and had grown its dividend consistently for years. It was not the most exciting purchase I had ever made. It felt almost boring. That turned out to be exactly the right feeling. With that $500 initial investment, I set up an automatic transfer of $200 per month from my checking account to the brokerage account. Time to hit one day after my paycheck arrived. The automation was critical. When the money transfers automatically before I can think of something else to spend it on, the decision is already made. There is no willpower required. No monthly debate with myself about whether this month is the right time. The machine just runs. The first few months were humbling. After 3 months of contributions and my initial $500, I had invested $1,100 total. My first quarterly dividend payment from SCHD was $9.47, $9.47. I remember staring at it in the account and feeling slightly underwhelmed, but genuinely excited by what it represented. My money had made money without me doing anything. $9.47 had appeared in my account because I owned something. That was new. That had never happened before. I reinvested it immediately to keep the compounding process going. The mistake I made in the first 6 months was not adding a second investment quickly enough. I was so cautious about diversification. I eventually added JEPI, the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF, which yielded around 7 to 8%. Adding JEPI meaningfully boosted my blended portfolio yield without requiring me to take on individual stock risk. That single change reduced the total capital I needed to reach $500 a month by roughly $35,000. That is how important average yield is. That single change reduced the total capital I needed to reach $500 a month by roughly $35,000. That is how important average yield is. The second mistake I made was emotional. About a year into the process, the market dropped sharply. My portfolio value fell about 18%. Watching the account value decline was genuinely uncomfortable, more uncomfortable than I had expected. I did not sell, but I slowed my contributions for 2 months because psychologically it felt wrong to keep investing into something that was declining. That was a mistake. Those 2 months were exactly when every dollar I put in was buying shares at the lowest prices. I made a rule after that which I have followed without exception. Market down more than 10% equals increase contributions, not reduce them. Knowing this intellectually and executing it emotionally are 2 entirely different challenges, and only one of them matters for outcomes. About 18 months in, I added Realty Income, ticker O, to the portfolio. Realty Income is a REIT that has paid and raised its monthly dividend for over 30 years. Monthly payment. Incredibly consistent. Around 5% yield. Adding O gave me real estate income exposure and shifted a meaningful portion of my dividend payments from quarterly to monthly, which made the income feel more real and regular on a day-to-day basis. At the 2-year mark, I added a small position in Main Street Capital, MAIN, a business development company yielding around 6 to 7%. Main added private credit income. Diversification across income types, not just companies, turned out to be one of the most important decisions. By the end of year 2, my blended 4-holding portfolio was generating approximately $280 a month in dividend income, more than halfway to the target with contributions still running automatically every month. Year 3 is where the compounding truly became visible in a way that felt genuinely significant. The dividend income being reinvested was now large enough that it represented a meaningful portion of the new shares being purchased each month. The machine was feeding itself. By month 36, the combined portfolio crossed $110,000 in value. Monthly dividend income hit $518 for the first time. Target reached. Here is what I want you to take from that timeline, honestly. It took 3 years at around $200 to $300 in average monthly contributions. The reason it moved faster was the yield optimization and the decision to increase contributions aggressively during the market downturn. If you contribute $300 a month consistently and resist the emotional pull to slow down, 3 to 4 years to $500 a month is genuinely achievable. Not a fantasy. A calculation. The hardest part of the whole journey was not figuring out what to invest in. That part took about 2 weeks of research. The hardest part was the first year when the numbers felt too small to matter and I had to consciously choose to keep going. It was working, I just could not see it yet. The compounding curve is back-weighted. Progress is slow and then it is suddenly fast. The investors who reach the finish line are the ones who stayed consistent. If you start today and do not stop, you will get there. The only version of this journey that fails is the one that gets abandoned in year 1. Start this week, automate the contribution, reinvest everything, and come back here every week for the updates and the accountability. Here is my question for you before you go. What feels like the single hardest part of starting or staying consistent with dividend investing? Drop your honest answer below. I reply to every single comment. Hit subscribe for weekly real portfolio updates. Let us build this together.